welcome back. My name is Yenja, and I learned close to 3,000 words of Brazilian Portuguese in 3 weeks.
That's not possible.
And if you watch this entire video and apply the techniques and tools that I suggest, I'm sure you can do something very similar.
You can do it!
I'm also a memory champion and polyglot, but you probably already knew that if you're subscribed. So if you're not, please subscribe to see more of these videos and help me pay my bills. Now, how did I do it? I almost exclusively used drops to memorize these words. So it is Sunday, February 7th, and 3 weeks since I started learning Brazilian Portuguese with drops, and I am a few words away from learning everything. A freira. This is the last word.
O taoísmo.
O taoísmo.
O taoísmo.
O taoísmo. I think that's it. I think I learned all of the words. 2,716 words. I learned all of the words in the entire app. I'm gonna screenshot this. Oh my god. Yeah, on average 900 words a week. It's been a journey. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be, because at the beginning I thought that 3,000 words in 3 months was gonna be pretty hard. I thought I would be crying, but I'm just pretty happy that I've laid the groundwork for the fun part. And the fun part of a language is always creating your own sentences, being able to refer back to these 2,716 words that I've learned while I'm learning with input, watching shows, doing all these things. Now the fun part begins. Now, being a memory champion and polyglot, I have some tricks up my sleeve in terms of memory techniques, but also I get a bunch of free words. Now, what is a free word? It's basically a word that is so similar to what you already know that it's basically for free. You don't have to do anything fancy with it to remember it. O marshmallow is marshmallow. You don't have to do some type of Jedi mind trick to remember that, even if it feels like the languages aren't very similar. For example, chess in Mongolian is shatter, and chess in Brazilian Portuguese is xadrez, so it sounded like shatter, chess, xadrez. Sometimes you're going to encounter words that you have no idea how you're going to memorize, and you just look at it and you go, doesn't look like anything to me. For example, lagartixa, which means gecko. So I memorized it by just using Swedish words. Lagar in Swedish is fixing. Tisha is like a casual word for t-shirt. I imagined that I had a big hole in my t-shirt and the gecko was perfectly suited for that hole to fix it. So fixing t-shirt, lagartixa, lagartixa, and that's how I memorized it. Another word, amorsa, means walrus. Doesn't sound like walrus in any language I know, but it does look like the word morsa in Swedish, which is, in my opinion, a white trash way of saying mom. So I just imagined this walrus in the most like white trashy way that I could possibly imagine, with just like the bag and the pearls and the everything. And that made it fun. And the more fun and the more connected and the more vivid you can make it, the easier it is for you to remember. Now, there was another word that was completely I had no connection to, which was o tubarão martelo, which means hammerhead shark. O tubarão is the shark part. And how do I memorize it when none of the languages that I already know can remind me of tubarão equals shark? I just imagined a shark that's in like a tube shape, and then I imagine that it's going wow. So o tubarão. So when I see the word tubarão, it will come to my mind as, oh, what does this remind me of? Oh, a tub and something going wow. Oh, that shark with the tub. And martelo is hammer. And how do I know that? By not knowing it. I'll explain. So I've learned French on and off for I don't know how long. Even though I don't consciously remember that the French word for hammer is very similar to martelo, somewhere in the crevices of my mind, somewhere in the recesses of my mind, I know it. And so I instinctually know that the tubarão part is shark and martelo part is hammer. So even when you aren't conscious of things that you've learned or habits that you've done in the past, they do influence your behavior. So don't fret it if you forget it, because you probably haven't forgotten it completely. And you also want to draw conclusions when it feels pretty safe to do so. For example, I know that the word for dog is cachorro, and then I was given the word cachorro quente to mean hot dog. I am now certain to maybe 99% that quente is the hot part of hot dog, because cachorro is the dog part of hot dog.
I've never seen a mind like yours before.
But sometimes your pattern recognition device doesn't help, and when you draw false conclusions, that, my friends, is called false friends. When a word looks like some other word that you already know, but it actually doesn't mean anything like the other word, that's a false friend. For example, a fábrica, you might assume that it means fabric, but it actually means factory. In English, embarrassed is embarrassed. In Spanish, embarazada is pregnant. Even though they sound similar, you can't say estoy un poquito embarazada because that would be embarrassing to say that you're a little bit pregnant. And that's why I think it's important to go through the most common words at least once to see where you might be drawing false conclusions. Now, how much time did I spend doing this? I used the Drops app every once in a while when I felt like it, in between different tasks for 5 minutes. And I think that's an easier way to learn because then it doesn't feel as serious. Also, when you spread out your learning, it's easier to remember because your brain gets to sit on it and reflect on it a little bit and process it in the back of your mind instead of having to be completely focused for a long stretch, such as, let's say, 35 minutes in one go. And if you saw my first video about this, initially my plan was to only do 5 minutes a day and learn the 3,000 words in 3 months, but I just kind of like it, and apparently when you do stuff you like, you feel better. So I just kept doing it and doing it. There's this quote from Elizabeth Gilbert that I really love about language learning, which is, "Every word was a singing sparrow, a magic trick, a truffle for me, and lie there in the bubbles, reading the Italian dictionary aloud to myself." The words made me laugh and delight, especially. When you learn a new language, it just feels like you're opening the door to a completely different part of the world, a completely different part of yourself. It's like so magical to learn a new language. Every word is a magic trick. It's O peixe boy is the word for manatee. It sounds like a pasty boy. And because I know peixe means fish, I'm like, fish boy. And it just makes me laugh to be like, manatee is literally fish boy. Or one of the most beautiful words is agua viva, which is the word for jellyfish, which sounds like alive water. Like, how beautiful is that? That somebody sometime looked at a jellyfish and was like, that looks like water is alive. Another one of my favorite words is hangover, which is ahisaka. I just imagined Chris Sacca, the entrepreneur, hungover because I went to this conference where he was like drinking a lot, even on stage. And so it was very easy for me to imagine a Chris Sacca having a hisaka. It's just so beautiful. It's just absolutely the most beautiful thing in the world to learn a language. Maybe that's an exaggeration. And memorizing all these words isn't enough. So moving forward, I'm gonna be watching shows, I'm gonna be watching Brazilian Twitch streams, I'm gonna be watching movies, and I'm just generally very excited because this is so wonderful. And I super thank Drops for sponsoring this video and for reminding me how wonderful it is to learn a language, because it really is so magical. And what else are you gonna do? There's a pandemic. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful, and I'm so happy and so grateful you watched till the end of this video. If you actually apply the techniques that I have provided in this video, you're gonna be so good at language learning, I promise you. And yeah, see you next week. Bye. Oh, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe.